Hey guys, Patrick Antonucci here with Dad Hackers, and in this video I wanted to share with you the reason why I started this channel and why I started my Dad Hackers group. So just to get started and tell you a little bit about myself, I am a Christian, a husband of almost 14 years, and we have 5 children together, ranging right now in ages from almost 3 all the way up to just over 11. So we have 3 girls and 2 boys, and it has been my passion ever since I was young to be a husband and to be a father and to lead a family well. And when I became a Christian, that became directed toward Christ and toward God and toward Christianity even more so. So one of the things that I wanted to do that's really been on my heart lately is to surround myself with other guys who really want to invest in their family, who want to invest in their marriages, and who want to invest in their children. And so I want to create a community of men who are all on the same page and on the same track. I don't have all the answers, I know that, but I know collectively as a group of men, we can accomplish a lot, and there's a lot of wisdom out there between all the men that are in this community and will be in this community and are joining this community. And so one of the reasons I began on this journey is to better myself, to become the man that God wanted me to be. And I know one of the ways to do that is to surround myself with other like-minded men. I need the accountability, I need the structure to help spur me on to be the man that God designed and created me to be. I did not grow up in a Christian home. My parents were divorced when I was 5. My mom, I lived with her. She had pretty much full custody of me. My dad had me on the weekends, and I had a good relationship with him, pretty good relationship, but he's just not a Christian, and he didn't grow up or raise me in that worldview. And coming from a broken home like that, I just do not have an example in my parents of what it looks like to raise a family from a Christian perspective, to raise children. I'm my mom's only son. My dad has 4 other children that are quite a bit older than myself. They're actually old enough to be my parents. So I pretty much grew up as an only child with a single mom who went to be with his dad on the weekends. And while I did get the male influence from him in that side of things, we did hunting, fishing, riding quads, going up to camp, playing in the woods a lot, those types of things. I did not get the example of how a Christian family and how a Christian home is run. And so I'm kind of left to my own devices here, and what I want to do is create an environment in my home whereby we raise our children according to the word of the Lord, according to His righteousness. Raise our children in the Lord. And so one way I feel that would be very beneficial to me is to surround myself and create a community of men who are on that same track. Now, that doesn't mean that the men in this community all have to come from broken, divorced homes or anything like that. No, we value men that come into this group who did grow up in a Christian home and who do have that example in their lives of what it means to have a Christian family and be brought up in a Christian home. We greatly value that perspective and really crave that in our own lives. And so this group, Dad Hackers, is a group of men who are devoted to raising up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ. And we desire to leave a multi-generational legacy of faithfulness. I know in my family and in a lot of families, it's not been the norm to raise families according to the Lord who then marry fully devoted followers of Christ and raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ. That has not been the norm in my family. But I want to break that cycle and change the cycle with my family. I want to raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ, who then in turn marry committed Christians who are devoted to the Lord, not just in word, but in deed and in desire. And then in turn, raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ and leave, like I said, a multi-generational legacy of faithfulness behind. And my prayer, and I typically pray this in the mornings when I go to work. I have about a 30-minute ride, 6 o'clock in the morning, and so I do a lot of praying then. And one of my prayers is that each successive generation of my descendants would be more faithful, more servant-minded, more giving, more generous, more evangelistic than the last, and that we continue generation after generation after generation until Christ returns. And that when he does return, that he would have a glorious harvest of saints through my descendants. And in fact, that none would be lost and all would be saved. That's my prayer. But I know that that's not going to happen if it doesn't start with me. And I know that's not going to happen by me just bringing my children to church. And I know that's not going to happen by me just praying about it. I know that God has a big, big piece in that, and He is the crucial factor. But I also know that He's put me here for a purpose. And He's put me here and given me good works to do. And I believe, and I feel very strongly and passionately, that one of the works that He's committed me to do is to raise up the next generation in such a manner that they would then in turn carry the torch, so to speak, and raise up the next generation with their family, and so forth and so on, and that the cycle would actually spiral upward instead of downward, as it typically does in the Western culture, where the family is just consumed with consumerism and materialism and not really looking after the things of the Lord, and not really pursuing Christ, and not really living for the Lord, and not really living by grace and living by faith. And that's what I really want to do with my family, with my wife and my children. My wife and I have been married for coming up on 14 years this year. And that is a rarity in my family. My family, on my mom's side and my dad's side, both has a lot of divorce in it. My parents were divorced. Both of them were divorced 2 times. And other people in my family, a lot of people are divorced or broken homes or not even married at all. And so that just accomplishing that 14 years is a big win in my mind. But I don't want to settle for that. I want to continue on and press forward and become the father and become the husband that God really designed me to be. But I don't fully know or understand how to do that. And one of the reasons is that, like I said before, I don't really have that example in my life. Yeah, I can read books, and yes, I can study the Bible, and yes, there are a lot of good examples there. But I need the accountability of having this community around me, spurring me on as I spur you on to become the men that God designed us to be. Now, maybe you are married. Maybe you have children but aren't married. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you are divorced. Maybe you have a blended family. Whatever the circumstance you're in, if you're part of this community, then you have children. And you have a responsibility given to you by God to lead that family. When Christ returns and he approaches your family, whatever it may look like, He's not going to first ask the children what happened. He's not going to first ask the mother or the wife or the woman in the family what happened. He's going to approach the father. He's going to approach the man first and going to ask what happened. Just like in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve sinned, it was actually Eve that took the first bite out of the fruit, whatever it was. But who did God approach when he came down? He approached Adam. And here's why. Because Adam was in charge. Adam was given the responsibility. Now, as husbands and as fathers, primarily as fathers in the context of this community, we are given a responsibility to lead our families well. Whatever the family may look like, whatever the circumstances are, you are responsible for leading that family. I am responsible for leading my family. And when Christ returns, I want God to come down and say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I don't want to have to try to make excuses, because I don't think God's going to accept excuses. Not that he's up there looking for a reason to accuse me, but he has given me the responsibility of leading my family well and raising my children in the Lord. And I want to do that to the best of my ability. And where I fall short, I want the Holy Spirit to come in and fill in the gaps. But I know that I can always get better. And I know that I can help other men get better as they join me and join this community on my journey to becoming the man that God has designed me to be. Like I said, I feel very strongly and I feel very passionately about this. And I want to bring as many guys into the group as possible, into our community as possible, to be able to raise up the next generation. Because just imagine the generational impact that if I raise my 5 children in the Lord and you raise your whatever number, 1, 2, 5, 15 children, whatever it is, if you raise them in the Lord and then they grow up to marry fully devoted followers of Christ and they in turn raise up the next generation, 30, 60, 90 years down the road, imagine what things would look like. Imagine what the legacy is going to be like that you leave because of the work that you do now. And that's kind of what motivates me. Am I saying I do it perfectly? By no means at all. I fail daily as a father, and I know I fall short in many, many areas of my life. And I know that I could do better, and I pray, and I still make the same mistakes. I still get caught in the same sin. But we have a forgiving Lord, and we have a gracious Lord. That's not a reason to continue to sin or to continue to mess up or to continue to make excuses. But it's nice to know that our God is a forgiving and giving and gracious and generous God. And that's the kind of man that I want to be. But I also know that, like I said a little bit ago, that I've been given this responsibility to raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ. So, I want to invite you to join us in this community, in this endeavor. I have a private, free Facebook group, Dad Hackers with Patrick Antonucci. You can look it up, or I link it in the description below. You can check us out there. At the time of this recording, we have a little bit over 200 men already in the group, and things are hopping in there. So look it up. Just make sure I put 3 questions in there to kind of filter those people that are asking to join the group, to make sure the right men are getting in the group. So make sure you are answering those 3 questions. So once again, on this channel, what I'm going to do is be posting videos of tips and strategies and life experiences and testimonies and different things like that for dads, so that we can equip, encourage, and enable dads to raise up the next generation of fully devoted followers of Christ and to leave a multi-generational legacy of faithfulness. So don't forget to join us in the Facebook community with Dad Hackers. And Patrick Antonucci here, signing off. You guys take care.